Karibu AMG Realtors. We have specialized in selling of land across the country in areas like Nanyuki, Naivasha, Nakuru, Juja, Kagunda Road, Malindi, and the Abadeas. Contact us today for land investment solutions and have your title deed delivered within 60 days upon completion of payment. SMS AMG to 40299 or call us on +254 748 229 941. AMG Realtors. We don't just deal in land, we deal in value.
I just want to thank you so much, Bridget, for joining the We Don't Play podcast station today. How are you?
I'm really good today, and thank you so much for having me.
You're most welcome. You're most welcome. You know, when I got to connect with you, I was like, this is the best time to talk about, you know, parenting, business, entrepreneurship, which is, it's not a new thing, but it's the in thing. And I just knew you would be the perfect person to help us talk about this today. So I'm excited to have this discussion with you for the next few minutes.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's my area. So yeah, I'm excited to be here.
You're welcome. I would love people to know more about you, what you do. Just give us an insight of who Bridget is.
Okay, so who am I? My name's Bridget Daley, and I'm the founder of the Parents in Biz platform and the editor of the Parents in Business magazine. The Parents in Business platform is all about supporting parents who are starting a business, running a business, who just need support with running a business, growing a business, and managing harmony at home with their children. So that's very much what the platform is all about. It's all about support, support, various different ways of offering support to parents who are in that position.
Okay, I love that. That is very much needed in our days today, you know?
Yeah. I've been in business over 10 years. I'm a mother of 5, so I do have quite a bit of experience in this area. When I say I'm a mother of 5, people automatically assume I've got 5 young children. So no, I don't have 5 young children. I've actually got 4 adult children now and 1 who's 11 years old. So throughout my business journey, because I've been in business over 10 years, my children have gone through all the child development stages. So I do know what it's like being pregnant and starting a business. I do know what it's like having a baby and having a business. So that's where all of my kind of experience and expertise comes in when I'm helping parents.
That is so good to hear, because as soon as you mentioned that, what came to my mind was, when you have your first child, the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, maybe, you know, it's like it gets easier, or is it like something you're used to? Because the first time, I think the first one is always I don't know, I can't speak.
Yeah.
so to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, when I first started off in business, I actually had 4 children. So they were like teenagers, like toddler, that sort of age. So I had my hands really, really full. I started my first business with my partner. It was a telecommunications company we had. So that was navigating that. I had just finished university because I had children earlier, at a young age, I should say. I went to university later on in my years, sort of thing. And I just finished university, and I was, just finished university, and we had 4 children, and we started this business, and I then went into employment as well. So we had the children, started a business, and was in employment. So it was nerve-wracking, and it was very, very scary, and there wasn't much support. Like now you can find quite a lot of support in terms of mumpreneur groups and stuff like that, but at that stage there wasn't as much support as there is available today for parents. I then went on to start a second business, which was a women's fashion e-commerce website, and at that stage I was just had a baby, so but I was focusing on the business more or less full time while I had the children, so that was a totally different stage. But that was the stage when I realized this is actually really lonely. I didn't have any parents to bounce off of, like to say, oh, I'm going through this. Have you gone through this? Or I'm facing this difficulty. And, you know, whether it's illness with the kids, how do you balance it all? How do you manage it all, sort of thing? I didn't have that support. And then that's when I came up with the idea of Parents in Biz. So that's how the idea came about, sort of like secured the social media handles and then just launched it and went with it. And yeah, built quite a community since then.
That's beautiful. First of all, I would say congratulations.
Thank you.
That is huge. And also, I know this is the Women's History Month, and yesterday was International Women's Day. So
yeah,
huge word for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You know, as I think about Parents in Biz, you know, the first thing I think about is like, I kind of dissect them into two different parts. Like there's parents and then there's business. So how do parents in business stay in business while still being a parent? How does that work?
That's really, really good. Well, what it is for me personally, it's been about boundaries. And it's really, really hard to have boundaries when you are a parent and you are in business, because you might be facing, you know, I think I've faced quite a few different certain scenarios during my time, such as, you know, friends and family think, oh, she just works at home, she's working on her hobby. You know, some people see it as I used to see it as a hobby, I should say, not so much now. But she'll be available, but it's not. No, I've always had strict boundaries, kind of thing. So when it's work time, I'm working, and when it's family time, I'm fully focused on my family. So my phone will be off, I won't be answering emails, and the laptop and the desktop, that's totally shut down. So that's how I've managed to balance both. Obviously, when they're young babies, that's much more harder to navigate, because you're sort of like, when they're younger, you're stealing time. So it's like while they're napping, you're saying, okay, let me quickly answer these emails, or let me quickly make that phone call. So it's a lot different. But then even when my youngest, for example, when she was younger, I put her into nursery for a little while, like, you know, I think it was part-time. She was going like 2.5 days a week. So then I could purely focus on business those 2.5 days a week. And then the rest of the time when she was at home with me, she had mummy, she had me, you know, fully giving her my undivided attention. So it's about finding that you're working out your boundaries and doing what works for you, because what might work for me or another parent won't necessarily work for your home setup and your lifestyle.
That's true. That is so true. Because it's like every household has their own house rules. Yeah. And every business has its own model.
Yeah, that's it. And then you've got, you know, not all parents actually work from home. Some decide to work from co-working spaces, so they're able to set up boundaries that way. You know, nowadays there's so many like co-working spaces that offer childcare as well. So that really works for some parents who want to keep the boundaries of focusing and growing their business, but knowing that their children are safe and secure. So those really work really well for some parents as well. So there's all different types of setups.
Okay. That says a lot about, you know, what's coming next. Because 10 years ago, like you said, like mompreneurs was not a thing, you know, so to speak. So like 10 years from now, what would we be seeing? Like if you kind of predicted, or just based on the trends, what do you think could be happening in the next 10 years?
I think we will be seeing, I hope we do. I hope we see more co-working spaces that do offer childcare for parents. And it would be great if there was some form of like co-working spaces that offer childcare for maybe older children for in the holiday times, you know, children that are maybe aged from 5 to 10, because at the moment when it's holiday times, term, you know, when the children are off, and they can go to play schemes and stuff like that, but they can be very, very expensive. So if parents could have something where it's maybe a co-working space, and then the children are off doing an activity and they can steal a few hours there, you know, that could possibly work. It'll be interesting. I'm very much interested in that area, and I'm very much watching and seeing where it does all go.
Okay. Yeah, me too. Because I like what you said. You know, think about online, this whole metaverse thing going on. Like, there's so many things people are trying to get in and build online communities. People on Reddit, people on Quora, you know, people on Google, on Pinterest. You know, everyone is trying to figure out what to do. So it's like we're all in a rumble. So I think it's a really good way for people to connect, and just seeing how digital technology is taking over, it's going to change even the raising of the children is going to be different, like how it was, 10 years ago and how it is now.
Yeah, very true. And it's interesting you mentioned the metaverse. That's something I'm watching very closely as well, because at the moment, all I've kind of seen is a few good stories and then a few horror stories about the metaverse world. So it is interesting to see how that will shape and form over the coming years, especially as the technology develops further as well. But if I'm honest, I do like that human element. During COVID, I did miss, going out networking with parents, networking with just business owners in general. So I do, there is some people who do like that in person rather than the virtual, but then it is interesting to see how that virtual world will develop. So, yeah.
Yeah. How is it like now that you even mentioned it, what came to me was like, how is it now, in the UK? Is it better? Like, as far as connections, are we getting networking events up again, or things are still like, in the back burner for now?
No, everything's up and running now.
Oh.
So, yep. All restrictions have been lifted now. So I'm seeing a lot more in-person networking events. But what I think has happened, what I know for me personally, I did host a few in-person networking events before COVID. But what's happened now is, because I've grown my audience, and my audience is international because of the magazine, I'm hosting an online networking event because I can't get all the parents in one place, in person sort of thing. I will go back into in person, but that's the kind of what I'm navigating at the moment. When I was asking parents, I did a survey and asked them where are they all based, sort of thing, the ones that were interested in networking, and they said, I was thinking, oh, well, this isn't really going to work. Only online will actually work for this sort of thing. So yeah, it is very interesting. But in the UK, yep, everything's opened up. In-person networking is back on, so that's really, really nice.
Okay. Now that you even mentioned it, I was going to ask you, and you kind of beat me to it, because I was going to ask you, starting a digital and print magazine, when someone hears that, it's like the way someone hears SEO and they come to me and they're like, I don't want to touch it. So how did you come up with the concept of building this magazine? Because that is a really great place for advertising and keeping people aware of things. How did that start for you?
Well, that came up with, I'm always thinking, what's not out there? I'm that kind of thinker, what's not out there for parents kind of thing. And I'm very much into magazines myself. And I was like, there's actually no magazine out there for parents who are actually running a business. So I thought, okay, I spoke to my partner. I was like, what do you think of this idea? And he was like, oh, you're going to do it anyway. You're going to do it anyway. So I self-funded it for the first year myself. It's been going over 3 years now, the magazine. I self-funded it for myself for the first year, and I offered it for free. But obviously parents had to pay for printed copies. And I just approached a few parents in my network. Oh, do you want to be interviewed? Oh, do you want to write an article? It was very kind of informal, because I don't come from an editorial or publishing background at all. So I had no experience in that area. And there was a parent who was a graphic designer, and I love the work she does. And I approached her about, designing the magazine for me. And it's sort of just the first issue sort of just came together. And then from then it just took its own legs and started to grow and expand and into what it is today. And now it's on various different platforms digitally. It's also on the website, and it's also available to purchase print copies from the website as well. as it started to grow, if I'm really honest, I did get nervous, especially when I knew I got to the stage where, I've got to ask people to pay for this now. Because when you're offering something for free, everybody wants it. But when you say, okay, you have to pay money, people are a bit like, do I really need it? Kind of thing.
Right.
But the transition from a free model to a pay model went rather smoothly. Obviously, because I didn't come from an editorial publishing background, there was areas where I did lack experience. So it just so happened another parent connected with me up, mentioned me to someone else, and then I got talking to this woman and she allocated me a mentor who's like an expert in magazines. And I've been working with my mentor for like just over 6 months now. And in the space of the time of working with the mentor, the magazine has just really, really grown even further, because it's gone through a redesign. She's taught me terminology. She's opened my eyes to things that I didn't actually see before, because she's got that experience in that area. So yeah, it's just really, really taken off. It has.
That's huge. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You know, when I hear about what you said, one of the things that struck me the most, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners are thinking this too, is the mentor piece. Because people are looking for mentors and they either find them, or the ones they find are not the ones they're looking for. So how best would you say finding a mentor for that need can be satisfied when you're really looking out for resources that are going to help your business move the needle?
Yeah, well, because that's my second mentor I've had. I had a mentor before that, but his area was more in business overall, in growing your business. So it was an overall look at the actual business. So I worked with him for about just under a year. I worked with him for, but how I found a mentor was I saw, Facebook adverts, and this advert sort of like came up. And then another parent mentioned that they had gone to this place to do this Woman in Business program. And I was like, okay, I've seen that advert. You know, when everything sort of like ties up, I've seen that advert. And then this parent's mentioning it to me. So I reached out to them. And then that's how I was allocated the first mentor. I think when you're working with mentors, it's luckily mine I didn't have to pay. I'm very lucky that I haven't had to pay for my mentors. It's doing that due diligence. Is this the right person for me? Can they see, do they understand my business? Do they understand my business model? And can they give you what it is that you actually seek? So at that time, I was looking at my business on an overall perspective, and he was really good for that. But what I needed next was someone who could help me on the fine-tuning of the magazine, and that's where my next mentor came in. And that was just, I've been quite lucky. It's been a chance, like not chance meeting, but like people mentioning me or something, where I've managed to connect with these people. But yeah, I think in terms of mentors, I think it's really, really crucial that you ask those questions and ask about the experience that they've actually had before you start working with a mentor, even a coach as well. Because in my previous business, we all make business mistakes. In my previous, the women's e-commerce, I made some really costly mistakes with that because I lacked experience and, lost a lot of money through working with a coach that wasn't right for my business, and I didn't do my due diligence. Had I done my due diligence, I wouldn't have been in that position. So mentors is really doing that research and making sure your mentor is the right person for you.
Yeah, 100% agree on that. It changes a lot, because your mentor is like that beacon of light that allows you to see, like at the end of the tunnel, when you kind of have that blurry look and feel. It's like, oh, I don't know yet. Maybe I need someone to help me figure out, okay, take step 1, take step 2.
Yeah, that's it. And that's what I find with the mentor I have now. She always says, oh, she's very blunt. So she always says, am I too blunt for you? And I'm like, no, I love it, because that's how I thrive. When people challenge me and they give me their honest opinion, I always set out to say, okay, yeah, all right, I'm going to grab the bull by the horns and I'm just going to go with it, sort of thing. So everything she's actually like criticized, And she's given compliments as well, because she couldn't believe that I had been running the magazine 3 years plus and didn't have no experience at all. So first of all, with that, she was impressed and was like, she stopped the session and gave me a round of applause sort of thing. But now it was time to, grab the bull by the horns and really take it as far as it can go, and to take it further and further. And that's what I'm hoping to achieve with her.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I'm even thinking now with the magazines, I got to know recently that you can even create digital magazines, and when you hear that, you're like, how is that possible? Magazines are supposed to be flipped. So how would you know whether your audience is looking for the print or looking for the digital piece? How do you calibrate that?
That's why I offer both, because you've got some people who like having that magazine in their hand. It's just like books, isn't it?
Yeah.
You got some people who like to have that physical book in their hand, and then you've got some people who don't mind reading it on the Kindle, and then now you've got Audible, which kind of just throws it all both away, and it's like, I just prefer to listen to the book. So it's the reason why it is digital and print is because digital, if the parent is having a lunch break, they can just flick through as they're on their lunch break. Or if they're at home and they get that moment to relax, because being parents, you don't often get that moment to relax, they can flick through at home or as and when. So it's always there on hand. And the magazine doesn't really date, because there's interviews in there, there's small business features, and there's really, really valuable articles from various different experts. So it doesn't age. There's always something that you can learn from every issue of the Parents in Business magazines. So it's not an aging magazine, because I'm not keeping up with, this is actually happening politically. So this is current now and I'm running with that. It's not that type of magazine. It's more about supporting you on your growth journey of your business and getting that inspiration and celebrating other business owners.
100%. Yeah, that is what we need, because businesses have emerged out of nowhere, from just scratch. Yeah. Especially after the pandemic, everyone is like, okay, I got to start a business. I got to do something. So, things are happening where people are starting to feel uncomfortable, and that uncomfortable feeling is wanting to make them feel comfortable again by kind of stretching their arms and trying to see where else they can be able to find that second, third, fourth, fifth, source of income revenue.
Yeah. And that's it. Nowadays, you can't rely on one source of income, can you? You've got to have various different streams of income. So yeah, I totally get what you mean. But in terms of setting up a magazine, you said about setting up a magazine digitally. It is relatively, I shouldn't say it's relatively easy, because it's not. There's so much hard work involved. But it's the graphic design, that's not my area. So I know what I want and I just explain it to her, and then she just works her magic. That's how I always say it. But I use a platform called Issue to sell the magazine on as well. And then I'm with various other platforms, and I'm going with various others to get it more out there as well globally. But you could just start off really small with a small PDF. You upload it to Issue, and then you press publish. If you go on Issue, you'll see they've got a wide variety of different magazines on there. So yeah, it's quite simple if you wanted to just start and say, okay, I've got this idea for a magazine. I want to start. Let me see what's out there. Is there a space for it? And then you just grow it, because the main thing with business, with anything isn't it? It's starting. Once you've started, that's it. It's then just to build upon what you've actually started. You've started the foundation. It's just to build the building blocks on top.
Yeah, that's so true. Even the setup process, would you say the process to start up, let's say someone has all these ideas and want to put it in a PDF, or they already have it ready and they go to Issue, will they need to get their business in order, or they can just start up like everyone can sign up as a Facebook account, for example?
It's virtually simple, because you can have with Issue, you can have a free you could use their free model, or you can actually use their paid model for statistics and stuff like that. I started off with I always started with their paid model because I liked the extra features that they offered. So yeah, it's relatively simple. I've got like a couple of business connections who have magazines as well, and they work with the free model. It's just that, you know, you've got to have their branding on it to say where the magazine's from and stuff like that, and you don't get the statistical data. But because I wanted the statistical data of how many people's reading the magazine, locations and stuff like that, because you want to be able to measure your reach, don't you, and stuff like that. So that's why I went for the paid option. But yeah, it's once you start that, yeah, sign up. It's pretty simple. Yeah, the main hard bit is navigating who's in what issue and doing the layout of the magazine and, you know, communicating with different people. That's where the hard work comes in. And then you've got to think about, okay, bringing in revenue for the magazine, so advertising and stuff like that. And then that's where, like, now it's more or less very much full on now for me with the magazine. And I only do 4 issues a year, every quarter, but it's very, very full on. Yeah, very, very full on now.
That is huge, because if you do 4 a year, that means the marketing is tight.
Yeah. So can you imagine the people who do it monthly? Oh my gosh, that fills me with dread. I don't think I could cope with that at all, because people often ask, oh, would you change it to monthly? No way. I'm quite happy with each quarter, because by the time I've finished one, it's like I'm already working on the next one, sort of thing. And then I've got parents who are lined up to be in like issues that are coming out in September, October. Do you know what I mean? Because I get inundated with, you know, PR people, journalists and stuff saying, oh, I'd like to feature my parent, and oh, I want to write an article and stuff like that. And I have to always be allocating which one would fit best in what issue and stuff like that. So yeah, it's very much full on.
That's really smart. It just saves you time and gives you more time. Like you mentioned at the beginning, parents, business, how do you mesh the two? You can't be doing it every day because we have 24 hours.
Yeah, this is it. So yeah.
That's true. Wow. You know, the last thing I want to find out, and I know my audience is thinking too, like, okay, we've heard the business part. Now we want to tap into the parenting part just a little bit more, especially when it comes to the coaching, because we talked about the mentorship for business. Now, parents and coaching, when you hear parental coaching, a lot of people don't. Some people just say, hey, we have a baby and let's start. You know, it's like there's no planning for coaching. There's no planning for, you know, what's to come. How does someone even find a coach, a parental coach? How does that work? And are there any tips you can give parents? You know, because I know we have a lot of parents who are on the podcast who listen and they're trying to figure out what can we do, you know, with our time. Our kids are out, we're empty nesters. You know, what can we do so that by the time we have babies or the things we didn't know, we can teach someone else or we can teach our kids? What are the things that they should look out for when they're starting the process?
So are you saying starting the process in becoming a parenting coach or looking for a coach?
I would say looking for a parenting coach. Yeah.
Looking for a parenting coach is, I've got quite a few parents in my network who are actually parenting coaches, and sleep nannies. That's another big one. Like, I remember back when I had my older children, there was no such thing as a sleep nanny. It was like, I learned about a sleep nanny when I had my youngest. And then because she was a bad sleeper, someone said, have you tried a sleep nanny? I was like, what's that? I couldn't get my head around it. It's someone who actually teaches your child to sleep, or, you know, works with you on how, giving you tips and helping your child sleep, sort of thing. I never tried it, but I've heard very, very good reviews about it. But in terms of going back to your question, of a parenting coach, I've never personally used a parenting coach, but I can see how valuable they are, because I can be, you know, really, really honest with you here. Is like, as I've said, I've got 5 children, and they're not all 5 perfect children. They've been through their various different stages. And I'll speak about my 18-year-old because he went through, oh, geez, he took us through the mill because he had like really, really severe, like, you know, behavioral problems when he was younger, you know, just trying to keep him in school for a full school day without my phone ringing was, you know, if he went through one full school day without the phone ringing, it was like celebrations when I picked him up. So it was he was really, really challenging. And we often talk now, like, he's preparing to go university, and I just can't believe this is the same kid that puts me through all of that, who's grown into a young man now, who is so well behaved and is going off to university. But if at the time I had a parenting coach, I can see where situations would have been handled a lot more differently. And it would have been really nice for me and his dad to have that support of someone who's by your side, sort of like coaching you through, who has got that experience. Do you know what I mean? So I can see how valuable it is when I reflect back on my experience with him in particular, because, you know, of what I went through with him. It was very challenging.
I know. Wow. That is so important. And I love that you brought that up, because every child is different and they all have their own lanes. Like, they all have their own time. And it's like, if you have to pay attention to each and every one of them, you have to kind of balance it and not say, oh, this one is my favorite, or this one I'm not so sure about. It's like, the more you have, the more you have to work with. Yeah.
No, it's true, because it is very hard, and it's I've said because I've asked him. I said, do you mind if I talk? Because I always ask them before I put pictures up with them or anything like that, just out of respect. And I said, do you mind if I talk to my audience one day about you, what I went through? Because I know there's parents out there who have children who are either really sickly, or have children with disabilities, or have children who are not well behaved, and they're thinking, oh my God, they might be feeling really, really isolated, or like no one understands. But seriously, I totally get it, because I think I've been through operations with children, I've been through illness with children, and the list is endless when you've got children and you're running a business. So I think I've been through every kind of different type of experience. But yeah, parenting coaches, I've got a really good one who I'm quite close with, and the advice she even puts out in her Facebook group and on her Instagram is so, so valuable, because it is nice to have someone, especially if you're a single parent, for example, and you are going through difficulties with one of your children or a couple of your children, someone who's coaching you along the way, you know, because we're not all perfect parents. I don't think there's anything such thing as a perfect parent, to be quite honest. It's actually a learning process, like everything else. You know, you will make mistakes. Don't beat yourself up about the mistakes, because it's just part of life. Do you know what I mean? You just got to pick yourself up and continue. But yeah, parenting coaches, I highly recommend them, even though I've not used them, but I can see how valuable they are.
Yeah, I appreciate that, because that helps a lot of people to now do their own research, you know, which is the whole start. Because if you can't research about something you probably didn't know until figure it out, you'll be like, oh, I didn't know there was something like that. Then you get deep into rabbit hole and you're like, okay, now I see what I'm looking for out of this context. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, just like I said with the sleep nannies, you know, I do wish I did try it with my youngest, because she still has sleep problems now, but I'm thinking, oh, maybe it's too late. But yeah, so yeah, it's what you don't know until someone starts. And this is why podcasts are so good, because you, like yourself, you've got different guests on and people hear about different things from different perspectives. So yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I love this podcast and started, because I was like, I know some people would need this, and when they hear one thing, like, for example, I know one of the things that people will pick from this would be like the issue. And if they're writers or authors, you'd have inspired them to start something and see how they can add a second, you know, income stream, a third one, just because of the knowledge. Because if you don't know, you would have never known it if you didn't listen to the podcast. So it's really vital to stay in tune. Yeah, very true. Yeah, very, very true. Yeah, I agree with you totally. Yeah. Wow. This has been so eventful. I'm so glad and privileged that I was able to have you on the We Don't Play podcast show, Bridget. And I'm looking forward to the next one.
Thank you so much for having me on. Thank you. I've really enjoyed it.
Anytime. If there's a way like they can reach out to you because they want to be like, I want to get that magazine. I want to figure out how I can start too. What are the options they have, and what can they be able to do to connect with you at a much deeper level?
I'm on all social media platforms, Parents in Biz, BIZ. And then if you just Google the magazine, Parents in Business magazine, it will the website will come up. And then, you can just send me a message, send me an email. You could contact me. I'm very reachable. It's not as if to say there's no VA standing in front. I'm reachable. You'll be coming through to me. So I'm very hands-on.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bridget.
Thank you.
You're most welcome. And I'm wishing you all the best, and congratulations once again.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for having me on. And thank you for the listeners for listening in.
Anytime. Bye for now.
Okay, bye.